And we back on After Effects again, part 2 to these generations. And we still with Miss Yanni Yan.
What's up, people?
Alright, so you guys, last episode, just a brief recap. We talked about the younger generation. We talked about the parenting of, or lack thereof, of the younger generation and how it's basically hypocritical. And how we're not teaching these children what they need to know versus we giving them a pass to do whatever they want. And then when something happens, we want to cry to the judicial center. We want to cry to anybody who's going to listen when there were certain things we could have prevented. So we're going to kick this off talking about these older people. Now, I love my older folks. I do. I appreciate the older generation. I truly do. But this is what gets me. When somebody of the younger generation in y'all family do something that y'all don't agree with, can you please tell me why your first resolve is to criticize them? Attack them, talk about them, dog them, spread all they business throughout the whole entire family about what you think is going on, because be truthful, you don't have all the facts. You took a piece of information and because you were tired and at home and don't have nothing else better to do, you want to gossip about granddaughter and great granddaughter and all this other stuff and what you feel like they need to be doing differently. But here's my question. What did you teach? While you're so busy asking why this is not being done or what could have been done differently, what are you teaching? Nothing. Or when you find out that your granddaughter done came up pregnant, the first thing you want to do is blame their parent. Newsflash, that's child you raised.
Mm-hmm.
So is this a cycle perpetuating itself? Could be. Could it be that you didn't want to step out your own way long enough to teach your child properly? So because of lack of experience, your child taught with the best knowledge they knew how? And what's up with this using the Bible for convenience? You don't want to live by it, but it's so helpful when you want to use it to tear somebody down. So helpful. I can't understand that. I remember some years ago, my husband and I received a phone call stating that a family member of ours was going through a phase where they thought that they liked the same sex. And my response wasn't what people thought it was going to be, because I said, okay. I was told I was giving them a pass. The older family members was telling her how she was going to hell because the Bible says that's an abomination and all this other stuff. But I thank God for the opportunity to talk with this individual one-on-one. And what I did, I discovered some stuff that they were going through an experimental phase. They didn't know that it was an experimental phase, but being older, I was able to see that that's what that was. That they thought, like most people, they were in love. And I didn't tear them down, but I spit knowledge. And I let them know that the same sex ain't going to treat you no different from somebody of the opposite sex. That there are more DV cases in same sex than it is in opposite. That is still possession that goes on in same sex. Why did I teach that? because I'm not going to teach you no differently from if you telling me you liking a little boy. What's the difference? Nothing. So I'm supposed to criticize you and condemn you to hell for liking the same sex, but I'm supposed to educate you and uplift you and do all preventionary methods when it comes to you liking the opposite sex, because one is favorable in the Bible and the other one is not. But this is what we're failing to realize, my older Bible thumpers. I want you guys to go through all 66 books of the Bible and tell me where there is a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship listed in this Bible. Because I ain't seen it. I've seen marriages. I've even seen concubine situations where one man with multiple wives. What I have not seen is a boyfriend or a girlfriend. So it's funny how we pick and choose what we want to accept and what we want to teach and what we don't want to accept and what we don't want to teach. But you quick to pull out the King James version of the Bible when it's convenient. I just had a situation happen. I was with family over a holiday, and one of the little children was dancing. They're toddler. They really not understanding what they do. But I guess we forget our roots. Because if you go back to your roots, gyrating, twerking, if that's what you want to call it, any kind of movement of the body, the butt, whatever the case may be, that's all a part of the African American heritage. All of this started in Africa. This is what they would do. Put bangles and symbols on their ankles, on their wrists, and move their bodies where these symbols would make noises to indicate a certain movement or a certain point in their lives. So, and then we're going to quit acting like you wasn't back in the day, humping and gyrating and grinding and all this other stuff. Just because it went from Barry White to R. Kelly don't make it different. Just because it went from the dog catcher to humping the ground don't make it different. It doesn't. But this ain't even my kid, and I was asked, why am I allowing this to happen? Huh? First of all, I didn't birth this kid. Second of all, do we have to be careful and kind of control how far we let certain things go because of the sick and twisted world that we live in? Most definitely. But again, the older generation, since we want to beat everybody up with the Bible, is charged with the responsibility to teach and lead the next generation. But we forget that. We want to sit on our high horse. We want to stand up on our perch. And we want to look down at those who don't have the life experience, who has not been here as long as you've been here, and everything they do is wrong. One thing about me, if I see something, I have to do something. My niece laughs at me every now and again when she thinks back to this story, but I'll never forget when her baby was really, really young. And there was a situation where she entrusted somebody who entrusted somebody to keep an eye on her child. Well, when they brought that child back and put that child in my care, there were a multitude of things that was wrong with this situation. And I was pissed. Pissed. Because I know how the child left the care versus how the child returned. I went off. But I did not go off in a condescending way. Because I think sometimes that's the first thing we want to jump on. I didn't go off in no condescending way. I said, this can't happen. This what was wrong. That was what was wrong. And I said, and whoever is no longer allowed to handle this situation, because it's obvious they don't know what the heck they doing. Never once. I can't judge people for something. If you want my help, I'll help you. And if I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know. Because that's something that we have to stop doing. Thinking that we know every doggone thing. Oh, we got the solution to every problem. Oh, well, this works, that works. What worked for you may not work for somebody else. You give what you can. But stop trying to give stuff that you don't even know what you're giving. You just talking just to sound intelligent. What's your take on this?
Basically, I'm going to have to 150% agree with everything you just said, as far as the older generation throwing the Bible into play and nitpicking at what they want to accept and what they want to sweep under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 9 times out of 10, the older generation has been through everything or most of everything that's been in the Bible. Whether they experienced it with somebody else, came across somebody with it, or dealt with it on, their own time.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's to the point where when the older generation gets a hold of the Bible, I don't want to say this to sound rude, but they want to make their self seem a little bit higher than the next person or generation, because they feel like they have all the knowledge that they need in the Bible. And most of the times, if you're going to be or read the Bible, you have to practice everything that's in it. You can't practice one thing and then expect the next person to practice it because you're into the Bible. Or you can't just practice one thing in the Bible and say, okay, well,
forget the rest.
So as far as, you might think it's okay to have sex before marriage, but you might not accept somebody having same-sex marriage.
They're both sin.
And they're both sin. So now with the older generation, they pick which sin is higher than the next because of what that person is experiencing.
Right.
So as far as, let's say someone comes to you because they feel like they can condole in you and confide in you about an experience that might not be their actual experience.
Right.
As far as, like you said, stated the same sex thing. Mm-hmm. Someone might come to you as their pastor or as a friend and say, hey, I'm feeling this type of way. And then the first thing you want to say is, oh, no, that's not right. You're not supposed to do it like that. So now it's like, how am I supposed to know how to feel if the only thing you show me how to feel is down, because the first thing you want to do is teach me about the Bible or do this. Not saying that you have to accept it, but you still have to teach it.
Exactly.
For somebody to understand. Because how am I supposed to understand when the first thing you say is, oh, that's a sin, you're going to hell? Automatically.
Yeah. Instead
of saying, okay, this is not right to do, but if this is something you feel like you need help with, I will help you get over the situation or try to get over the situation. Because the first thing you can't do is automatically assume somebody's going to hell. Mm-hmm. Because 9 times out of 10, these pastors and preachers from the older generation, like I said, have experienced this before. So you overcame something that you was battling with as far as a sin. Mm-hmm. So your job is to help the next person overcome it.
Yep.
And not put them down because you feel like, oh, I'm not going through that no more. So now I'm better than you because I stopped doing that, but you're doing it now, so you're wrong.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at like, okay, I do remember this phase of my life where I had to overcome this sin, or I had to repent, or I had to have God forgive me. So I want that's the same for you. Instead of just saying, okay, well, you know, like I'm saying, you're wrong. Instead of just sitting there talking to nobody.
Exactly. And that's what gets me about it is once you're delivered, you're supposed to go back and help other people be delivered. Nowhere in the Bible does it state that you're supposed to get delivered. Hold on to your deliveredness. And I know that's probably not a word, but, and then toot your nose up because it's now I'm saved. Oh, I don't know about that no more. How quickly do we forget? One thing I can't do is look at my younger generation and say, oh, I've never done that. So now I'm married and I'm literally into God and now and all this other stuff. And this is true facts. I'm a lot further in God now than what I was when I was younger.
But you're sharing. You're planning on sharing that with the next person.
And that's what I do. I don't get mad when questions are asked. People, well, how do you believe in what you don't see? I give analogies. We don't see the wind, but we know it exists.
Mm-hmm.
We don't understand how the leaves fall off the tree every year, but we know it happens. Why do I give analogies like that? Because there are just some people who need more in-depth information than you just going around saying, well, if he saved me, I know he real. That no. How do you really know that God is real?
And it takes your own
personal
experience to know, because at a point in time, I'm sure people have experienced that where they had to question, how is this possible? And they came to realization.
Right.
So now when somebody else comes to you and say, how do you know God real? You just blow up and be like, oh, he real. Instead of breaking it down to why you believe so, to help this individual realize. And the first thing you want to think about is, oh, you an atheist, you don't believe in God. No, they're not saying they don't believe in God. They just want to know, how is it possible that, you know what I'm saying, that God is real. Another thing I have a big issue with in the older generation in Christianity is that most of them are hypocritical. And me saying that is, let's say a person in the older generation had their first kid when they was 15, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything might have been cool with that back then. But
yeah, because back in that day at 15, folks was getting married.
Right. But now, let's say my generation have a kid at 15. Now I'm going to hell. I should have waited till I was married. I should have did this, that, and the third. But you did the exact same thing.
Oh, but it was different back in my day.
It's the only thing that's different is the age. It's the same cycle, repeated, just in a different age, a different year,
in a different time.
Nowadays, my generation need more guidance.
Yeah.
Than maybe y'all needed before back then.
True.
And a lot of times now, these parents, and maybe back then, are not there. Whether it's because they choose not to be or because they were taken, death, anything. So now, as the older generation, y'all have to step up to teach these young kids. Mm-hmm. Instead of talking about them, dogging them, bashing them, and belittling them, talk to them.
Mm-hmm. And let's stop with the stigma of there is no need to talk to the younger generation because they don't listen. Because truth of the matter is, when you think someone's not listening, that's when they're listening. I don't know how many times I've said something to someone younger than me, and years later, what I said comes back. Not because I wanted to be right, but because I didn't want you to go down that road. And if I can give you a heads up and say, hey, if you continue to go down this road, you gonna hit your head.
And that's another thing with that older generation is they are the type of people where they don't talk about stuff enough. They will want you to fall on your head first, then talk later. Now, yes, if you talk and they fall on their head, that's different. But if you never talk to them and they fall on their head, you can't look at them a certain way because you wasn't there to show them or teach them stuff. My whole thing is, whatever you know, teach the next person.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait until it's too late. Whatever you know or may think is beneficial to the next person, teach them. Whether they listen is on them.
Exactly.
But don't wait until they don't listen because you didn't tell them. Now you want to sit there and say, well, you should have did this, you should have did that. But you never told me what I should have did. Now you want to tell me what I should have did when I'm falling on my butt and need your help.
Mm-hmm.
Now you want to say everything. But it's different if you didn't repetitively told somebody something.
Right.
And they fall on their head. Now you can say, okay, I told you this. But if you never told me anything and I fall on my head and now you looking at me crazy, I'm going to look at you even crazier because you should have told me this.
And I think one of my famous lines when I was younger, when I would have that happen, when I would do something and I didn't know, and somebody said, well, you shouldn't have done that. I'd be like, well, that would have been nice to know before I did it. And because naturally I'm a smart butt. I just got to be honest about myself. Yeah, I'm very smart mouth. So if you come telling me something, you see, I'm like this. Stop me before it get too far.
Thank you.
Don't just let me go out here and get hit by a train and you see that I'm about to cross the railroad tracks and you clearly see that this train is coming and it's coming at a rapid speed, but instead of snatching me back or telling me to wait, because that's the problem. People don't want to wait on nothing. You could tell me to wait. Now, if I choose to be stupid after you done pulled me back and told me, look, the train is coming and it's coming quickly. If I choose to say I'm going to chance my life, then that's on me. That's not on you. But let's be honest. Everybody don't pay attention.
They don't.
They don't.
They pay attention when they went too far.
Exactly. When it's too late is when you pay attention. So what do I try to teach? Look at everything. Don't look at stuff from one jaded point of view. Look at everything. Why do I say that? Because it's going to be something in what was said that if you listen and pay attention, and that's the problem. We talk more than we listen.
Mm-hmm.
So because we talk more, we miss a lot. I had to learn to be quiet. That was hard for me. Because I had a response for everything. You said boo. Why you saying boo? What you mean? How you gonna tell me? And that's the thing. You can't tell me what to do. I had to learn that if you don't listen to somebody, you better listen to somebody because you don't know it all. So I had to learn to shut up.
You want to know what else bothers me? Is that parents or the older generation expect the next person or generation to watch them, and that's how they learn.
Yeah, good luck.
So, prime example, let's say that someone is witnessing their mom or dad or somebody go through something. Mm-hmm. They think that that's the next person's lesson, and it's not. How am I supposed to know not to do that if it's a continuous thing with you? Instead of sitting me down and say, look, I know I'm doing this, but don't do that. But you can choose to do it if you want to, but I'm telling you this is not right. Or at least they don't try to change their ways to help you see stuff. They will rather you say, look, either you gonna do this or you not. So they feel like your kid watching you do certain things is the lesson that they supposed to be taught. You done seen me do crack 40 times and you gonna go do it? Yes, because you didn't tell me not to. I watched you do it for all your life, and then when I do it, you say it's a problem. But I'm watching you do this on a daily day basis, which is making it seem like this is okay.
Exactly. And that's facts. Because I don't know how many times I've heard in the older generation, do as I say and not as I do. That don't work.
Nope.
It don't work. And it's not just in your household. People are watching you. People watch you, period. And you don't know who you're causing to stumble because of the example that you're setting. That's what people not realizing. You don't know whose life you're affecting because you want to do what you want to do, or you refuse to speak on something. I tell anybody, I have no issue telling you my life story. Because it ain't nothing that anybody can say to hang anything over my head.
That's right.
If I did it, I'm going to tell you I did it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to just tell you I did it. I'm going to tell you why not to do it.
Yep.
I've always been like that. That's why I've never had a problem with people of the younger generation talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because they know I'm going to keep it all the way 1,000. I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you what it ain't. And I'm only going to tell you from what my own personal experience. I'm not going to tell you from Johnny's personal experience. I'm going to tell you from my personal experience. Yeah, I did do that. But I wouldn't advise that. Well, why not? Because these are the consequences. This is what I had to live through because this is the criticism I suffered because of. This is the labels that come with. I'm gonna keep it all the way a buck. If you did it, you did it. What is the point of being ashamed about it? You can't be ashamed about it now.
Yep.
Take it and use it. And help somebody else. I can't just turn around and put no halo over my head now and say, ooh, I done fixed my life. Thank you, Lord. You spared me. I'm saved. I'm married. I ain't sinning no more. Who said that's true? Because it's a bunch of sins that folks don't even want to mention that's in the Bible. Profanity is a sin.
Oh, yes.
The Bible clearly says that you are not supposed to use perverse language.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Bible tells you to be careful what you watch as well as what you listen to. Because all of that stuff plant a seed inside of you. But why we don't teach that?
Because they only, like we said before, they only take a select few of those that they think is the worst out of the worst and try to use that.
And focus on them.
Yep. Oh, I don't cuss, but you cheating. But you committing adultery, but you don't cuss.
Right.
Oh, I ain't gay.
But you having sex outside of marriage.
But you having sex outside of marriage.
Or you sleeping with somebody's husband.
Right.
Or somebody's wife.
Oh, I ain't committing adultery. You are. You are.
It's like, nah, if we're going to teach it all. Because I'm going to, in the end, I'm not looking at nobody crazy. Just because I live my life differently, if I know somebody's having sex outside of marriage, what I would like telling them, ooh, you going to hell. Like, I ain't been almost 4 years removed from that lifestyle.
Yep.
So, I'm supposed to judge you? No. If anything, I'm going to try to explain to you what I learned from that experience. Because before I got married, I had to really dig deep down inside of me and ask God to release spirits. So I wasn't transferring anything over to my husband. had to get rid of some stuff before I could commit my life to someone else. People don't teach that.
Nope.
They don't teach what it is to have to, that's the word, detox.
Mm-hmm.
You don't teach the truth.
You're just going into marriage.
You just going into it with all them souls and all them
now you and your
spirits
husband fighting at 3 o'clock in the morning because he didn't.
because he don't know who he's sleeping with.
Right. He didn't sleep. He was sleeping with all the 30 guys you used to sleep with. And you just jump into marriage because you think, oh, well, we getting married, that's going to change. No.
Well, if I get married, I'm no longer a sinner.
Sorry to say this, but married people tend to do a lot of things that's not supposed to be done. That goes as far as, oh, I'm a part of a church now. Okay. That's wonderful. You part of a church. But majority of sin is committed in church. Little do people know. Most of sin is committed inside the church. You think because you're going to church every Sunday that makes you still have to do other things besides go to church.
I tell people that Christianity is not about the life that you live in church.
Yeah.
It's about the life you live outside of the church. It's about the examples that you set when people, I will never forget, I was at work. And this lady looked at me. And she said, I can tell you saved. Oh, I didn't go jumping up and down like, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. They can see you in me. Nope. The next thing that came with that is, now you accountable. Now people can see me in you. Now you're accountable for what you say, what you do, how you act. Now you're accountable. That's what people fail to realize. You're accountable for whatever life you choose to live.
I got to ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you want someone teaching you how to do something, as far as, it don't even got to be in a church? Do you want somebody preaching to you anything about the Bible if they sinning? Would you listen to a pastor if they sitting up in a church preaching about how this is a sin, how this is a sin, and the church probably know that they committing these sins? Would you want to listen to that word from that person?
Okay, so this is where I'm going to throw the monkey wrench. Okay. Because this is what we tend to forget. The person that's bringing the word is just as human as you are.
Right.
That's what we choose to forget. The point of it is, what did you get from the word? Not the person. The word. Why do I say that? Because my job is to take in what I need, discard what I don't. And I have to still live outside of whoever's standing up in that pulpit. And when I die, I'm not answering to the preacher. I got to answer to God. Because regardless to whatever life you're living, I know the word. The same way it would be, okay, better example. You're in school. The teacher is absent. You have a substitute.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody know that majority of kids clown when there's what? A substitute.
Because it ain't their regular teacher. And they know they can run over that person.
But does it make a difference who it is? No.
Because they still got to teach you the same thing your teacher
and you still have to abide by the same rules. Don't matter that that's not who you used to. None of that matters.
So basically you saying that you would listen to a gay pastor preach the word about how gay is not okay. That's what I mean. That's what I mean by sinning, is what I mean. The pastor on the pulpit sinning, committing adultery and all that, and they preaching about how that's so wrong, but you know that that's what they doing outside of what they come to here to preach about.
Well, on the flip side of that, I have to protect my spirit. So if I know that you're doing X, Y, and Z and Z and Z. I got a good example for you.
Okay.
So I want to make sure I word this right. Okay. About 2 years ago, someone got up to give a word. Okay. And I knew that they were not living correctly. And I judged them for that.
Mm.
And I had to go back and apologize to them for that. Why did I have to go back and apologize? Because your life is not my responsibility.
Right.
I don't have a right to look at you any differently. I don't. I had to literally apologize. I had to literally ask for forgiveness for that person. Because I realized I was being a hypocrite.
Mm. Mm.
Because I'm saying, because you carry this title, you're supposed to live this extraordinary life. You're not supposed to have no faults. You're not supposed to slip. You're not supposed to do none of that. So how are you treating me and you up here living this kind of way? That's not right.
Yeah, it's not.
The Bible clearly states that we all sin.
Yep.
And we all fall short of the glory of God. So who am I to single you out? I had to go back and apologize. Has that individual rectified everything and done what needed to be done? Yeah. They've all gotten it together. But I had to make amends with that. And I thank God for that person's willingness to recognize where I was and how in my immaturity I reacted.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question, I'm not accountable for who bring the word.
Right.
I'm accountable for what I know. Does it mean that I'm going to deliberately sit up under something? No. Does it mean that it could come from a baby? The word is the word. And the Bible clearly tells you that once you hear it, you're accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't judge you for living your life because you got the answer for that. I don't.
Yep.
You got the answer for if you're falsifying yourself in God's name. I sat up under a quote unquote pastor for years. Years. And who, honey? Who, honey? And I mean horrible. Horrible. But I can't say that I didn't know the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that. What I can say is, even in all the hell that surrounds that individual, oh Lord, they got an answer for that. And I don't want to be nowhere near. Woo, Father God, I don't want to be
One more question I have to ask.
Ooh.
When you have children in the future,
Mm-hmm.
Will you, I don't want to say forcefully, but will you recommend the Bible? Will you uplift them in a church? Will you pretty much all the things that you do involving Christianity, will you pour that onto your children, or will you let them be old enough to decide that's what they want to do?
I will teach it.
But will you make that like their priority? Like, you have to know this. Like, you have to follow what this says. Like, will you be like...
I would never take my child and beat them into Christianity.
Yes, that's the term of what I was trying to say, yes.
I would never do that.
Okay.
Yes, as for me and my house, you will serve the Lord. What does that mean? I've been charged with a responsibility to teach you the right way.
So what if your kid just decides one day that they just are not religious, where they just don't want to fall under that?
I'm not religious.
So you wouldn't consider yourself a Christian?
No, religion and Christianity are two totally different things.
Okay.
Religion is... how do I put religion? Religion is everything has to be done a certain way or you're going to hell.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Religion is every first Sunday, communion has to be done.
Oh, okay. I understand now.
Yeah, that's religion. I'm a Christian, I'm saved.
But you're not religious.
But I'm not religious.
Which means, like, you don't 100% follow or fall into the every Sunday thing. Like, because you know how some people have a point in their life where it's like it's mandatory to go to Bible study every Wednesday, mandatory to have Sunday school, mandatory to go to church every Sunday. That type of religion?
For me, I guess it's different because I feel lost when I'm not in church. Do I think that it's mandatory for me to be at every single thing and every single event? No.
Okay.
I don't. And I don't think that it makes me less saved because...
You missed the service.
I missed the service.
Right.
Because again, God is not just in a building. We individually are supposed to be the church. So the church technically is your individual walk, your individual life, and how you live. When the Bible says, don't forsake the assembly of Christ, that means that at some point, you guys as believers are supposed to come together. Because in coming together, you are able to uplift one another. You are able to encourage one another. It's kind of like being in the 5th grade but never going to class a day in your life. Mm-hmm. How are you learning?
Right.
But you're in 5th grade, but you're not learning anything because you're not assembling yourself up under the instruction of someone to teach you what you need to go to the next level. Church is the same way. You can't go to the next level unless you assemble yourself under the authority and learn what you need to learn. That's how you move throughout life. So, when I say I'm not religious, I mean just that. I'm not turning my nose up at somebody because they having sex outside of marriage. I'm not browbeating somebody because they had a baby out of wedlock. I'm not running around here telling folks they going to hell because of something that they've done. That's not my job. My job is to be the church.
Isn't that like, even though those are sins for a Christian, isn't that not right to do? To look at somebody as littler than you because of their lifestyle?
Exactly.
Right.
That, to me, looking at somebody who's struggling in those areas is basically telling God, oh, well, I'm your perfect child and everybody else is nothing.
because I don't do those things.
Exactly. Well, I don't know what's wrong with them. I got over it. Why they can't? That's like spitting on what God can do.
And a lot of people do that because they feel like that once you overcome something, everybody else supposed to. But everybody has a time of when they overcome something.
But my advice to people is, don't let your time run out.
I understand that, but
And you still
I'm saying
dealing with,
I'm not saying you have time, but
yeah,
your time. That was your time to be delivered from whatever it was. It takes other people a little bit more time. Everybody not gonna be delivered because you got delivered. And you can't force nobody to be delivered and say, look, you got to go to church or else you going to hell. You got to pray every night or you got to do this, that, and the third right now or you going to hell.
Yeah.
Wasn't you just 4 years ago doing what you was doing?
Yeah. See, that's the whole thing. The whole thing in a nutshell is that's so exactly why I give analogies to the walk of Christianity. Because when you give the analogies, people can understand it better. Like I said, yeah, you have to sit in class to be taught. If you don't, what are you learning? And how can you apply what you don't know?
I personally don't feel comfortable with acknowledging my mistakes or faults because of that type of situation. I don't want them to look at me as I'm just a horrible person because of the decisions I made or the decisions that I'm making. I don't want anybody to look at me a certain way. I want somebody to teach me to move forward and be better instead of judging me for it.
I've learned that the best way to teach is to just walk. What do you mean by that? Just walk. Just live. If you ever want somebody to learn, just live. Because people look and say, wow, look how far you've come. Thank the Lord.
But not only that, how are you supposed to be a leader if nobody can follow you because they're doing wrong?
Mm-hmm. But that's the whole thing. I asked this question one day. And I said the exact same thing you said, and I was a teenager. I said, how was this person up here telling me not to do X, Y, and Z? And they up here doing the same thing they telling me not to do. It was a wise person who told me that's what makes them the best people to tell you not to do it. I didn't understand that until I got older.
Maybe mostly because they know the consequences and stuff, and they're trying to prevent you from making the consequence.
And they may not know how to get out of it.
But no, my actual question is, even though you're a leader, how am I supposed to follow you if you can't lead me the right way? As far as if I'm looking up to you for support, how are you saying, oh, I'm a leader, but when you need my support, all I'm going to do is just shut you down every time? That's what I mean by how can I follow someone that's a leader, but they push me down every time. So how are you leading anything? It's different with what you just said where, okay, I know I'm doing this, but you don't do it because I'm leading you to not do it so you won't have to suffer the consequences I suffer from. Mm-hmm. That's understandable. But if I'm coming to you because I look at you like a leader, but then I get shut down because I don't have the requirements that you have. So now you don't want to teach me anything because I'm automatically supposed to know. I'm automatically supposed to be following your footsteps in the right direction instead of me looking at you as a leader and should be able to ask you certain things or for you to help me. But now you're looking at me like, oh, I can't help you. You got to figure it out on your own because you're supposed to know already.
Yeah. See, to me, those are not leaders. A title don't make you a leader. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people misconstrue that. They think a title means you're a leader. Just because I'm married don't mean I'm a wife.
Mm-hmm.
Two totally different entities. Two totally different entities. Not every pastor is saved. Keep it honest. That's what I'm about. I'm going to keep it real. Everybody with a title ain't a leader. That means everybody does not carry a teachable spirit. That's what you have to remember. Everybody don't carry a teachable spirit. So what does that mean? That means that you have to be discerning of who you talk to and who you don't. Because some people don't know how to teach. They don't.
Well, I agree with that because I had a situation where I wanted to talk to somebody about something and they only told me to pray. And in the back of my mind, I felt like the only time I needed to pray was when I was going through something instead of just praying to thank God for daily things. So that person just only taught me to pray when I'm going through hard times instead of praying just because. At first, I didn't know how to pray. So I asked this individual, how do you pray? I don't know how to pray. And the second individual said, just talk to God. Anything that you say to God is a prayer. And I noticed that. But when I went to that person, specific person, and said, look, I need help with this, just pray. So now I had it in the back of my mind where, okay, all I got to do is pray anytime my life going downhill. Because you told me every time my life go down here just to pray about it.
And I think that's a misconstrued notion. Because I think that's so common. It's so common because we say things like, well, God, if you get me out of this, I'll never do this again.
And then you praying 2 weeks later from the same thing.
From the same thing. Because we're so quick to tell people, pray.
Yeah.
Pray. 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 But God sent you to be an example. What if this person really don't know how?
Yep. And all you're saying is pray, pray, pray.
I promise you, I tell people the old one thing I can say about the old school people. When you hear people say, I'm living off of somebody else's prayer, that's the God's honest truth. It means that somebody got on their knees about you. Somebody went to God on your behalf when you was too stupid to go to God on your own. Or maybe you didn't know how. Or maybe because of what was going on, you were too ashamed to go to God. So somebody interceded for you. That's the power in that word. Interceded. That means somebody said, I got they back. God, I know what they doing, but please don't take them out. Please help them. Please show them. Please show yourself to them so that they'll know that you real and they'll come up out of this. So when you hear, oh, I'm living off of somebody else's prayer, ooh, baby. That's true. And that's what we miss. I don't judge, I pray.
And why do people always, when they pray over people, the first thing they want to say is release the demon out of them? When they got some type of sinful thing going on with them, the first thing they want to say is the demon, get that demon out of them.
Everything is not a demon. I tell people everything ain't the devil. People are so quick to fault the devil for everything that's going on in their life. Everything is not the devil. This is the result of people not wanting to take ownership for their own choices and their own decisions that led to these consequences. Everything ain't the enemy. The enemy don't have the power people try to give them. So what does that mean? You have to be able to, again, decipher what's the enemy and what's just you. That's facts. Because I know for a fact everything wasn't the enemy with me. I knew I was just stupid. But I'm not ashamed to say I was just stupid. I made choices, disregarded the consequences, and then cried about the consequences when I had to deal with it. That ain't had nothing to do with the devil. They had everything to do with the fact that I just did not want to do what I knew was the right thing to do. Or my pride, got in the way. And instead of asking someone, I chose to do it my way. And my way led me somewhere else. That's why it's important, not because you can learn from anybody. You can learn from anybody. If I see that Sally over there drove down that road, this same car, we was driving in the same direction. You drove, but you turned around. Oh, why you turn around? Well, let me go see. No. No.
You don't know what Sally about to do.
Sally turned around for a reason. You know what? Before I get too far down that street, I'm going to go ahead and turn around. GPS reroute. I'm going to go ahead and turn around. Because I don't know why you turned around. But I'm not about to go down there and find out.
That's like when they say when one black person run, we all run.
Exactly.
We ask questions later.
Exactly.
Because if you see a whole crowd of people running, why you going to go to the opposite direction of where they running to be nosy? Obviously, this group of people running from something. And you decided to be the one to be, well, I'm going to go see what it is.
No.
Nope, I'm running with the crowd. I don't know what's going on. What happened? I don't want to know what happened. If I see a group of people running, I'm running with you.
And that's exactly why I don't go places with a group of folks no more. And it ain't even being funny, but I have been in situations where I felt like something was wrong. And I have told individuals, hey, let's go this way. No, I don't. What I'm trying to get to ain't this way. Yo, I'm not feeling right.
Always got to go with your intuition.
And I've said, okay. And I've turned around. Thank God some people have been smart enough to say, wait a minute, where you going? Next thing you know, Fox 8 News. No,
I've been in that situation. I was at a party one time and I seen too many dudes coming in a group. I said, nope, it's time to go. They're like, no, they just part of the party. Nope. 30 minutes later, after I left, the whole party got shot up. Because them dudes, somebody posted the flyer on Instagram. Anybody got access to that address now. Now you got two rivals in one household. Because somebody done shared it to this person and said, oh, well, so-and-so gonna be there. Get them when you see them. Now they shooting up the house party. Because everybody done been there and sent the address out. When I feel a way, I don't even if it's a wrong intuition.
Yeah.
I'm going with it. Because I won't want to second guess myself. I don't want to be like in a situation where I should have listened to my intuition. Always listen to it. It could be right, it could be wrong. If you feel any type of gut feeling about anything, any situation, go with it.
Mm-hmm. And I have. And I've had to learn that we call it intuition, but that's that spirit.
Yes. You ever been looking for something?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody in your ear tell you, look over there, and you look over there and it's right where they told you. I'm like, who the hell told me that? Who told me that? That's God's way, because God is a spirit. Mm-hmm.
So that's his way of saying alert, danger, avoid that, don't go there, don't do that. But of course we got to be hard-headed. But that's the point. We have to teach. But I want you to remember, everybody don't carry a teachable spirit.
Right.
Don't shut down. Listen to that spirit that's in you and connect yourself with who you're told to connect yourself with. Because I had to learn to do that. I have one person. And I love this woman with everything in me. I can tell her how I feel, what I'm dealing with, what I'm going through. It ain't going nowhere. It ain't leaving her. She gonna pray for me. She not gonna act like she that far removed that she don't understand. And I am drawn to her. But not just her, the spirit that is in